Alright, welcome to part 2 of Charlie's Corner, ladies and gentlemen. We are beginning the learning of Servsafe because I'm going to be taking a test on November 1st, and I figured this is a fun way for me to study and learn and also to teach other people about safety and food. So this is a good way for me to do it because I'm like, if I just study and like not talk to people or something, then I get bored and then I don't wind up doing it. So already I have learned, and hopefully you guys have too, in part 1, that foodborne illnesses is a disease transmitted to people by food, and also when 2 or more people get sick from that foodborne illness, that is what is considered an outbreak. And also we learned about the different categories of who gets sick the most or who's more prone to getting sick. That is anybody who has HIV or AIDS, anybody who's on chemotherapy or has a transplant or anything like that, most elderly people, so that'd be maybe like 60 and older, and very young children, babies, like 3-year-olds, maybe 6 years old or lower, something like that. So yeah. Oh, and pregnant women. Pregnant women are more prone to getting that as well. So we learned all that already within the first page of reading out of this book, and that's something I will definitely remember, and that's why I'm going to be taking notes, of course. So now right here on part 2, I'm going to start talking about preventing foodborne illnesses, potential hazards to food safety. So let's go ahead and get started, y'all. It's already, what, 3:29, so we have an hour. See what we can learn in that hour. So, preventing foodborne illnesses. To prevent foodborne illnesses, you must recognize the hazards that can make food unsafe. These hazards can come from pathogens, chemicals, or objects. They might also come from certain unsafe practices in your operation. Most of these hazards can be controlled by focusing on personal hygiene, time, and temperature control, and cross-contamination. So, I'm going to write that down, of course. So, hazards come from pathogens, chemicals, or objects. And then they can be controlled. Gotta write that down too. Can be controlled by personal hygiene, time, and temperature control. And it is fun too, like doing it right here on my YouTube page, because then I feel like I'm like teaching a class or something. Like I feel all special because people get knowledge from what I learned. So it's fun. So, what are some potential hazards to food safety? Unsafe food is usually the result of contamination, which is the presence of harmful substances in the food. Some food safety hazards are caused by humans or by the environment. Others can occur naturally. Potential hazards to food safety are divided into 3 categories, and this is where I, of course, am going to take notes. First is biological. Okay. Biological. Pathogens are the greatest threat to food safety. They include certain viruses, parasites, fungi, and bacteria. Like the photo of Staphylococcus aureus shown at left. Some plants, mushrooms, and seafood that carry harmful toxins, poisons, are also included in this group. So, biological pathogens or whatever. So I'm going to write down pathogens, which include viruses, parasites, fungi, and bacteria. And then some plants, like mushrooms, seafood, carry harmful toxins. And you know, I think it'd be fun also, like maybe I can read through the chapter and then have a test for you guys. That'd be fun too. Alright, the second category is chemical. Food service chemicals can contaminate food if they are unused incorrectly or used incorrectly. The photo at the left shows one example of how chemicals may contaminate food. This group also includes cleaners, sanitizers, polishes, machine lubricants, and toxic metals that are leached from cookware into food. So that's a pretty easy one. So like this picture shows, they're like cleaning the grease off the side, but you know that spray, the way that they're spraying it, could possibly go into the oil. You don't want to have it that close. So maybe if you're cleaning something like that, maybe have it covered, or take a cloth and spray it on the cloth and clean it like that. I mean, I don't even know if that's acceptable, but certainly something like that. You know, sanitizers can get into fries or something like that. Even like the sprays that you use to spray like the bathrooms to make them smell good, that chemical, the vapors and stuff can come down into a food, some, you know, surface or something like that. So I guess that's an example. So I don't really have to write that down because I think I can remember that one pretty much. And physical. Foreign objects like hair, dirt, bandages, metal staples, or broken glass can get into food. The photo at the left shows this type of physical hazard. Naturally occurring objects like fish bones and fillets are also physical hazards. Each of the hazards listed above is a danger to food safety, but the greatest threat to an operations food safety program is biological hazards. Pathogens are responsible for most foodborne illness outbreaks. So, like the physical, like they said, is like band-aids. You know, a band-aid can fall out into the food if it's not properly bandaged on your hand. A piece of jewelry, a piece of plastic, anything that can get into the food is a physical hazard to that. So, the greatest threat, which is what I'm going to write down because that's an important fact, to food safety is biological hazards. Which is pretty much what I just all read about. And once again, pathogens are responsible for most foodborne illness outbreaks. Are responsible for most foodborne outbreaks. Yay! Okay, so already we've learned about biological, chemical, and physical things that can cause people to get sick in foodborne illnesses. Let's see, we're at 8 minutes. We can read another section. So, how food becomes unsafe. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has identified the 5 most common risk factors that can cause foodborne illnesses. 1. Purchasing food from unsafe sources. 2. Failing to cook food adequately. 3. Holding food at incorrect temperatures. 4. Using contaminated equipment. And 5. Practicing poor hygiene. So, except for purchasing food from unsafe sources, each cause listed above is related to 3 main factors. These are time, temperature abuse, cross-contamination, and poor personal hygiene. So, you know, cooking, failing to cook food adequately, I mean, that means maybe if you didn't cook it long enough, you know, or, you know, like when you cook chicken or something and the outside is cooked but the inside is still raw. Holding food at incorrect temperatures. Maybe you put it in at a certain temperature and it's supposed to stay at that temperature, but then it kind of loses a few degrees. That can cause something. Using contaminated equipment. You cook something like fish or something and you, I don't know, right before you cook it, you put it on the cooking board and then you forget to wash it and then you put chicken on it. Yeah, no comment. And practicing poor personal hygiene. It could just be dirty nails, dirty hands, coughing on the food, something like that. So, yeah. So, except for purchasing food from unsafe sources, each cause listed above is related to 3 main factors. That is time, temperature abuse, cross-contamination, and poor personal hygiene. So, I'm going to write that down because that's an important note. time temp abuse, cross-contamination, and poor hygiene. Okay, so now we're going to read about what exactly is time temperature abuse, cross-contamination, and poor personal hygiene. So, time temperature abuse. Food has been time temperature abused when it has stayed too long at temperatures that are good for the growth of pathogens. A foodborne illness can result if food is time temperature abused, which can happen in many ways. Food is not held or stored at the right temperature, as shown in the photo at the left. Food is not cooked or reheated enough to kill pathogens, or food is not cooled the right way. That's pretty much very self-explanatory, common sense for a lot of people who are cookers, definitely. So time temperature is when it's not up to temperature, or it's been staying at the wrong temperature for a long amount of time. Cross-contamination, which everybody should know about. Pathogens can be transferred from one surface to food to another. Cross-contamination can cause foodborne illnesses in many ways. Contaminated ingredients are added to food that receives no further cooking. Ready-to-eat food touches contaminated surfaces. Contaminated food touches or drips fluids onto cooked or ready-to-eat food, as shown in the photo at the left. A food handler touches contaminated food and then touches ready-to-eat food. Contaminated cleaning towels touch food surfaces, food contact surfaces. So that can be, that's basically food cross-contamination. And poor hygiene. Food handlers can cause a foodborne illness if they do any of the following actions: fail to wash their hands the right way after using the restroom or after they get their hands dirty, come to work while sick, cough or sneeze on food, touch or scratch wounds, then touch food. Yeah, that's definitely what they consider poor personal hygiene. Really? Hello? I am like teaching a class right now. I'm gonna have, because we're live right now on Charlie's Corner while I am talking to you. But I will tell you what's going on. Wait, hold on. I gotta read this last part while you're on the phone, okay? So hold, please. So, what is the important prevention measures, ladies and gentlemen? Now that you know how food can become unsafe, you can use this knowledge to keep food safe. Focus on these measures. 1. Controlling time and temperature. 2. Preventing cross-contamination. 3. Practicing personal hygiene. 4. Purchasing from approved, reputable suppliers. Set up standard operating procedures that focus on these areas. The ServSafe program will show you how to design these procedures in later chapters. As a manager, your job is more than just understanding food safety practices. You also have to train the employees in your operation, as shown in the photo at the left. Most important, you must then monitor them to make sure they're following the procedures. So you guys, we just learned about how food becomes unsafe with the time temperature abuse, the cross-contamination, and poor personal hygiene. So coming up next on part 3, we are going to specifically take the little test right here. I'm not going to even look up the answers, you guys. We're just going to read through it, because it says, it's just basically put an X to what answer is right, and we're going to do that on part 3. And this is probably going to be the last section that we talk about today, because that's actually the end of chapter 1, I believe. And then we get to take a test. So, if you did not hear anything like from what I described in the first section, be sure to go back to part 1 and listen to what we talked about there, because it's very interesting and important information. So, stay tuned to part 3 on Charlie's Corner, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.